Okay, right. I wanted to do an update video and I want to explain my findings. Right. Now this gets really interesting. Now I was going to install all of the coils on my device and I thought, hang on a minute. If I install all of the coils and I start changing things, it's going to be a nightmare to change everything because I thought, well, I've wound all my coils anyway, and I haven't installed them all, so there's a whole bunch of them here. And I've just got two sets, well, a pair of coils in there, and being quite liberal on the cores, because the more cores you put in, the more drag you get. And obviously, and I also found out by spacing them with a air gap in between each core, it improves the RPM. It also improves the conduction of the flux. The reason for that, I'll explain that. Let's see. If you get a magnet, and right, let's get a magnet, and if you get two nails, right, and you stick a nail in the magnet like this. Oops, if I can get it to, let's just stick it like that. If you stick a nail on a magnet, it will stand up, no problem, right? Get two nails on the same magnet. This is going to be tricky to do with one hand, so bear with me. You get two nails on one magnet. Space them out a bit. Now what happens normally, actually it's not happening with this one for some reason, is that they push away from each other, and that's the effect that I need to use to reduce the amount of drag on the rotor. Now let's bring them together. You'll notice they don't want to be together on the magnet. If I push them together with my fingers like this, so I'm wobbling, if I push them together like this and let go, they spring apart, right? Now I'm trying to get them together as much as I can, but I can't get them together because they want to push themselves apart. It's that effect that we're using by having our cores separated with an air gap, because when you bring them too close you get more drag on the system, but they seem to be happier when they're spread apart. Now, having explained that part, now when the rotor is moving, now I've drawn this little block diagram. It's a block diagram, not an actual schematic. So what I've actually got it upside down as well. Just a minute. No, it's not. Sorry, way up. Right. Oh, I see what I've done. It's gone through. There we go. Right. So the ink's gone through the paper. So what we got now? You got one rotor coming. This is one. We're just representing one pole. One rotor is moving, and it's all south or north, right? All north, right? And the other rotor is all south, right? So what we do is we take our coils, which are these things, right? These coils in here, and we cross connect the coil that's on the left side. So all these coils are wired in series, right? They're all wired in series, and these are all in series, just like batteries are stacked end to end. Same principle. So what we do then is we basically, to overcome the drag, what we do is we shunt the output coil from the north field, because all of them are in series, but we take that wire from the second from the last coil, and we take it across and we put it in series with the other coil on the south side. Right, so that basically works in reverse. It negates the drag that we have as it leaves, and it does work. But there's a trade-off, and I'll explain that in a minute. I'll explain that in a minute. So, and we take this coil and we cross connect that with the last coil on the other assembly. So these two coils here, right? This coil here is wired in series with this set of coils here. This coil over here is wired in series with these set of coils here, right? You get the idea? So what happens is, while all of these coils are energized with a south field, this coil is actually going to be repelling the rotor instead of attracting it. So what happens is, as the rotor's leaving, at this point where we've got attraction and we've got repulsion at this point, so we have attraction and repulsion here as well. So as the rotor's moving, as it starts to exit, it's no longer being held back. Now it works. Now I tried it with the entry point as well. I also did this section here on the entry point, and the trade-off was this: I didn't get enough voltage and current. Well, I did get current, but I wasn't getting enough usable voltage to drive my boost converter, which is about minimum of 5 volts, and I wanted more than that. So yeah, how do we get around that? Well, I'm thinking about this for a while because of the way my coils are arranged, these coils here like this, because there's only so many windings I can get on them because they're so close together. And I'm thinking, my previous designs had a large round coil. Now how can I incorporate that and then use the end ones as the repulsion, which is basically these on the end? So yeah, so I measured it. Oh yeah, and guess what? It's perfect. Look at that. It actually fits in there. And this, the original design would have built, when I designed this in SketchUp, this focus, you silly camera. I don't know what's wrong with it. Anyway, when I originally did this, the coils do actually slide in here. As you can see, they'll slide in no problem. So what I can do is, I can actually have this in the center. So I could try one of these in the middle, and I have one of my flat coils on the ends. So it'd be something like that, basically. No, wrong way. Something like that. But let's look at it end view. It might be a bit clearer. End view, something like that. Right? So ignore the other coils that are behind this round one. But so what I would do is stack my rectangular coils on the edges of my round coil, because this round one has got 450 turns of 30 SWG wire, which is going to give me a lot more voltage and current, and the voltage will be in series, as I was explaining, it'll be in series with the two end coils. So the end coils will be reverse biased, so that they will actually negate, as the motor's moving out, will negate the drag effect. And I tested it on my oscilloscope and it actually does work. But, like I said before, I didn't have enough voltage and current to do a really good test. But I shorted it out and I didn't lose hardly any RPM. The other thing about it is you have to adjust the cores on the end coils to tune it. You've got to adjust the balance, basically. So it's about tuning as well. So I've got these cores inside these coils which I can lift out. I can push them in, so I can attenuate the effect of these end coils on the system. So, which is really useful, and it's what I wanted to be able to do. It's much better than using a potentiometer or some other means of controlling the coil. Simply adjusting the core material is all you need to do. Just like the old-fashioned slug that you would screw into on a radio. You'd screw the slug in, or you'd screw the slug out to change its impedance, its inductive reactance and everything. But this is also reducing coupling, so it does two things at once, basically. So anyway, that's basically what we're going to be trying later on. And I haven't shown you anything because, to be honest with you, there's not a lot to show. I did make some couple of videos of the day. There hasn't been a great deal to show, but the other idea was to actually this is a schematic, basically the coils, just with the lines crossed over to the other coil. So basically taking the output of this coil set at the top, taking it all the way down to the other second coil. So one coil set down here, other coil set up here. So this would be south, this would be north, this would be south, this would be north, so as the rotor's turning. So we could also do it in two sets. So I could take the voltage from this set, take it all the way down to the, and actually these wires don't need to be crossed because I got confused when I was drawing it. So the wires would basically come straight from here, straight down to here, and straight from here, straight down to here. They wouldn't actually cross because the poles are already crossed, aren't they? Because it's north, south, north, south. So the poles are already flipped anyway. So we wouldn't have to cross the wires. We'd just have them run straight down. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the update on this. I've ordered a new boost converter because this one blew up the other day. I was showing it in the other video where a big chunk blew out of it. So I'm waiting for. I've got a new module coming. I've also ordered replacement ICs, which I'm going to be able to repair that one. Surface mount, I hate that stuff anyway, but I have got the soldering to do it. So just a little update. So nothing that I've wound, none of the coils I've wound previously are going to be scrapped. I can still use them because they fit perfectly in there, as you can see. Perfect. Lines up. Yep. So we're going to be able to try the round coil sandwiched between two rectangular coils. It's going to be a little bit fiddly actually to hold that in place. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to make I'll have to design a little box or something, a rectangular box that will sit between the end coils and on top of this round one, so that we can line everything up and tape it together without it all wobbling and falling all over the place. So it's not a big deal, straightforward enough, which is good. And if this works with a round coil, it'll be even better because it means I don't have to wind any more of these frigging things. Because yeah, I've wound a lot of them and I can still use them all. None of them are going to get wasted, because these I wound these months ago and they're going to get used again. So and I'll get more voltage with these bigger round ones because there's a lot more wire on there. There's 450 turns, and these rectangular ones, because of all the air, the gaps in there, there's really not that many. There's only 4 layers of 32 SWG wire. So that 32 SWG wire in there, which is a higher impedance as well, higher resistance, should actually be able to counteract the drag even better, because these are lower impedance. These are actually 30 SWG, 30 SWG for 50 turns. So 30 SWG is going to have more current output, there's more turns on there, and the current will be in series with the end coils, which will basically shut off the pulse. Now I did actually, I should have saved the waveform. I'll draw it anyway. Basically when I had the coils, when I had them wired, because I've actually changed the wiring on this end one now, it's back to normal because I didn't get enough voltage. It's just the bottom ones that are actually cross connected. But the waveform was, where's my pen? The waveform when I was running the test, it was basically like, let me just get this right. It was basically like this. Is that right? Yeah. I think I've got it right. So the waveform was basically like this, and it had quite a big spike on it. And because of the cutoff, we saw the cutoff in this rise time, or this rise time and this fall time. It was, yeah. I'll have to take a screenshot of that on the scope next time I run it, but I actually, I can't really do it right now because I went and changed the top coils. I wired them straight again, but when I get around to putting the round coil in between the rectangular coils, I can take a screenshot of that later on to show you what it does. And it basically switches out the output when the rotor is just leaving, so we don't get the drag effect, because instead of it, as I was explaining, instead of it actually sticking, you see, when you have, where's my other paper? Oh, it's over here. When the coil, you see, there's these blue lines and there's these red lines. The reason for that is the coil will be red. Sorry, when the coil is blue, the opposite, the attracted flux is against the red. So so basically north and then south. So yeah, it's like batteries in series, same sort of thing. So, but when on the exit coils, they're both the same polarization, so they repel. So these are attracting each other. That's the rotor and the coil and the rotor. But these are repelling. So when the rotor is moving, and it's actually just over this point here, and as it's leaving these actual output drop off anyway, it just becomes null. It becomes a 0 volt or 0 attraction once it's past that point. So if the magnets are about, I'm not going to draw on here because it's going to make it harder to move it. Now imagine that this is the rotor magnet, this cap, and it's moving. Right, when it's moving down here, then it's going to be all biased with north, right? And as it's moving down, it will get to about here and it will start to taper off. So the basically flux going through this way, right? So basically it starts to taper off. So we have a slight dip in the output at that point, and when it's dead in the middle here, it's basically null. It's completely cancelled out at that point, nullified. So as it's passing, it starts to generate a small voltage just on this one coil, but because it's only one coil, there's not sufficient voltage or current through that coil to create any drag anyway. But it's already done its work in shutting off the field, and there's not going to be enough voltage or current to actually create any drag at that point because it's one coil and it's just a few turns compared to all the other coils in series. We don't get anything. So basically at this point here, it's completely zeroed out, and then it leaves without a problem. Anyway, that's the idea. I've been testing it, it does seem to work, but as I say, I had very, very poor output on it, which is why I need this one. Anyway, thanks for watching.